Hey everybody, Edo here, and I am excited today because I have Jordan Hawker on. Say hello.
Hello.
Welcome. And you may or may not know Jordan, but Jordan is, well, for one thing, a senior engineer at Twitch, but way more importantly, the co-founder and one of the hosts of the Tilted Table, which is a Twitch channel all about board gaming. And I actually met you because you do weekly gaming it's actually at Twitch in San Francisco, or you like Skype people in, and we played Herbaceous and Sunset Over Water on the channel, which was
that was great.
Well, so to kick it off, I was hoping you could actually just share with everyone sort of, the origin of the channel and the show and how it came to be and what it's about, because I think I see you more and more, your content more and more, but I think a lot of people aren't as familiar with it.
Yeah, totally. So I guess to kind of give like the overview, like what we are as a channel is, we are primarily Twitch employees. We do actually have one member who helps us make content who is a significant other, does not work for Twitch. But other than that, we are all Twitch employees. And we do a once a week board game stream, and we also do a once a week D&D stream. So we kind of do a little bit of all things tabletop. And our board game stream is run out of our office, as you said, often in our executive boardroom because it has this nice big table. And we kind of the formation of this stream was basically out of the idea that when I joined the company almost 2 years ago now, we had a weekly board game night on Thursday nights where people would just get together in the office and play board games, as many people do
at
various companies.
Good option.
Exactly. But I was like, we are a streaming company, right? We're all in the office together. We're getting together to play board games. Why don't we try streaming it, right? And so, I went and talked to a bunch of my colleagues that did the board game nights. I was like, hey, wouldn't it be cool if? And, surprisingly, a lot of people were like, yeah, that would be amazing because, we work for Twitch because we like streaming, and we all went to the board game nights because we like board games, so why not bring both of those together into one thing?
Peanut butter and chocolate.
Yeah, so it was about, I want to say, March of last year that we did our first stream. So we've been doing it for a little over a year and a half now, and it's been going strong ever since. We just added our D&D stream a couple months ago, so now we're at a 2-night-a-week schedule, and every once in a while we throw in a surprise stream there. And yeah, it's been a really, really fun ride for us, a really great way to, for us to get familiar with our product, for us to get involved in the board game community on Twitch, for us to get to know designers and publishers like yourself, and get to know the tabletop community. And I think it's just been like all positives for us here at Tilted Table to just continue to grow and learn and like get to, meet more people and make awesome content.
Yeah, well, it's been super cool because I've been paying more attention. I admittedly wasn't, I think I'd maybe seen it once or twice, but I'm not heavily into, I'm not on Twitch as much as I am on YouTube or Facebook or whatever.
Right.
But I did start watching it, and since, it seems like you're doing a nice combination. You do the D&D thing, but some of these are like Kickstarters and promo type videos, or not promo, but playing a game that's coming out.
Right.
In conjunction with a campaign, and others are more just, retail games that are coming to market. Is there any sort of flow to that, or are you just sort of whatever we want to play, whoever we want to have on?
Yeah, so we do have a format. Since we do a game a week, that's roughly 4 games a month, depending on the month. So we like to reserve the first stream of the month for what we call our favorite stream. And that's bringing back a game that we streamed in the past that people really liked. So games that we've done for our favorite stream include we did Secret Hitler, we did Betrayal at House on the Hill, we did Mysterium. Basically any game that we liked that streamed really well, that the viewers really liked. And often what we'll do is at the beginning of a month, we'll put up a poll on Twitter with like 3 or 4 options, and we'll let people vote what they want to see played. Because, you know, part of building the community is playing things that people want to see played, right? And then the other part of it is like we like to introduce people to games, and that's kind of where the other 3 weeks come into play, which is where we kind of excuse me, we kind of go through each of our different you know, personal game collections, and we look at, you know, what are games that would be fun to stream, what are games that would be fun to show people. You know, myself and several of my other colleagues that work on Tilt the Table with me, we really enjoy backing games on Kickstarter, and so, you know, we'll have like a steady influx of new games that are coming out, and then we've kind of taken that a step further, where we've, you know, started reaching out to publishers and designers and saying, hey, you know, we have this content that we're making, and you have this awesome new game that's coming out. Is there something that we can do to help, you know, show people how awesome this game is, and show people, you know, like what it's like to play the game? Because, you know, we really strive to provide a very authentic experience. We're not a review stream, though we talk about how we feel about games when we're streaming. You know, we're really just about people who really love games, who have very different opinions about games, getting together and playing a game together, and letting people watch that play out, and, you know, just having a great time with our community.
And you know, one of the things that's worth bringing up, for especially for anyone who's not as familiar with Twitch or YouTube as other content, I mean, Twitch is sort of the home, you know, where interactive streaming content was born, or at least made extremely popular.
Right.
And so the interaction and engagement experience in a Twitch stream is way higher, I would say, than most YouTube or even live experiences or Kickstarter live videos or Facebook streaming. There's the same, you know, thumbs up, you know, sort of bravo piece of it, but there's the currency system and or the awarding system and all the different pieces in there that, I mean, when I was on the stream with you guys at the office, I mean, it was a very dynamic and highly interactive relationship with the audience, which I think is true for almost all of the channels and successful things that are happening on Twitch. So, you know, when you talk about content people liked, it's really a very dynamic, engaging experience with the audience. It's very different than just posting a video or how to play and then people just writing comments at the bottom after the fact.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really that's what I love about Twitch personally, is that, you know, for our channel, we have a way to say, hey, you know, here are your viewers, and having the viewers have a way to get sort of real time interaction, answers to their questions. You know, oftentimes we'll be playing a game on stream for more or less the first time, and sometimes we'll have viewers who actually know more about the game than we do, and they'll correct us when we get a rule wrong. Or you know, when we have people like yourself who come on the stream and show us a game, you know, we have viewers who will come and ask questions of you, and they'll be really interested to hear what you have to say, and, you know, how did this game come about, or they'll, you know, ask about some of the design choices you made. And I think that that's a really powerful way to share content, because you don't have this asynchronous model of, hey, I made a video and then I'm going to post the video, and then maybe people will leave comments, and then maybe I'll find time eventually to respond to the comments, and then maybe they'll respond. It's really just you're taking the video stream and you're adding the live interactive chat experience, and you know, we really enjoy it.
Yeah, and it was super cool. And again, even just from seeing that interactive experience in other platforms, it really is amped to a whole level, a higher level, and gamified, if you will. And so one of the interesting things is you're seeing all over YouTube and other channels this move to Twitch, right, where you got ad apocalypse, or whatever you want to call it, and there's just been all these changes and lockdowns coming into those other channels that a lot of creators, maybe they're not completely moving to Twitch, but going through and adopting more channels and engagement, and just sort of being part of shifting to that platform. I feel like you're now also seeing, and I'm very curious to get your opinion, because I know you've been involved in some of these things. So one, you're seeing content creators moving that channel in a lot of ways. You're also seeing Kickstarter creators and new sort of, not necessarily, you know, media or personalities, but just individuals who want to have a backer relationship and a community relationship. And then on the video gamer side, if you will, with PAX Unplugged and these other events, there's a strong shift of that culture and that audience into board gaming. You know, and so when what's from your vantage point, what are you seeing? What do you think of all that stuff happening?
Yeah, I think you're right that there is kind of this this shift going on in communities where you kind of had, for a while, board games and tabletop games in general were seen as kind of like old news, right? It was like you were either super nerdy or, it was just like it was a past generation thing, right? Like, so that there's kind of like the view that if you like board games, you're nerdy, which was kind of the same view that people had for video games, a decade ago or even more recently. But then even between like video games and board games, it was just seen as like sort of this outdated, older format for gaming.
40, 50, 60-year-old white dudes play board games, that kind
exactly. And I think that you kind of saw that play out in events, right? If you were to go to like a board gaming con versus a video gaming con, there's definitely a shift in demographics as well. Sure. But I think, you're seeing with the rise of Kickstarter and with the success of board games being, in my opinion, I think board games are probably the most successful category on Kickstarter to date in terms of, maybe not in terms of total money raised, but in terms of like the number of successfully delivered high quality campaigns. Board games have completely exploded, right?
Oh, for sure.
And then beyond that, you have, PAX Unplugged, as you mentioned, which was created specifically because all of the other PAX events were starting to get such a strong culture around tabletop gaming, particularly PAX South, I've heard, was like very, very gaming focused for analog games. Yeah. And so, creating an event just for tabletop gaming sort of brings the PAX audience even more into tabletop games, and the people who are running PAX are saying, "Hey, we hear you. We know that you love games. We're making an event just for you." But I think you could see when we were at PAX Unplugged, like the demographic there was very much like you would see at any other PAX event or at TwitchCon or anything like that. So it's really bringing that whole community in, and then for me, the trifecta there is Twitch as a platform and other live streaming platforms is that is an avenue where we're bringing a younger audience into this experience, into this community, and that's what I see our channel and other channels like us doing is sort of we're trying to create this community where the people who like to watch Twitch will stumble across our community and get hooked, and they'll want to check out all of these awesome board games that we're playing that they've never heard of, and kind of help the resurgence of board games.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's quite both in terms of growth in the board game industry, growth via Kickstarter, just the explosive range of content. I mean, there's a little bit of a flood happening right now, and there's going to be some fallout from that, but just all of this creativity, all of fantastic art and theme and mechanics and just everything mixing together. You're getting also cross, digital, physical, AR, it's all just hot soup, Mets, salad in the middle. And so it's, it's awesome. I mean, I think it's super interesting. In terms of Twitch, because your channel's obviously growing. Have you seen more board game channels or creators coming onto Twitch? Is it still slow? Like, how much is it growing around you guys? Or are you guys the center? How's that looking?
I would say that we're definitely not the center. Even before we started our stream, lots of channels had been out there building and growing before us. We kind of came in maybe middle of the pack, I would say. And I think it's definitely grown bigger since then. You have channels such as Crit Camp and Late Night Tabletop, Twist Gaming. You have Saving Throw Show, Exploding Dice, Henley, Painted Meeple. Like, there are a lot of channels out there that are doing great work playing board games. They're all hitting the grind, and most of them stream more often in a week than we do because,
Sure.
For us, it's like, all right, this is a thing that we do after work.
You have jobs you have to do every
right. And I mean, these people have, these people often, many of them all have full-time jobs in addition to streaming. But for us, because we're meeting at the office, it's kind of like, how many days a week do you want to stay late at the office kind of thing. And so it's sort of a logistical nightmare to do it more often than that. But I think that, we've definitely seen growth with more and more channels popping up, especially, as the affiliate program came out this year and there was more monetization options for small streams on Twitch. I think we saw more people delve into board gaming because board game streaming is not the cheapest way to get into streaming because with like video game streaming, you already have a computer probably. You buy a webcam, maybe use the mic on your headset, and you're pretty much good to go, right? Tabletop streaming requires, a few more cameras and, a big space and maybe some lighting that you have to worry about. It's not impossible, but it's definitely like there's a little bit different barrier to entry. But I think we've definitely seen more people come onto that. You have, like Twist Gaming started something that they called the Tabletop Gaming Network, which is kind of like a coalition of board game streamers. And so they are kind of like bringing this community together and building it around, people who stream on Twitch and they do tabletop. And so that's been really great to see, both to see that grow and to see people take the initiative, because we don't feel like we have to be the leaders. We're just happy to be part of the community because, we can experience it. And, as people who work for Twitch, it means that we have, a direct line to amazing people who are creating content on our platform, and we can get feedback on them and how we can make Twitch better for them, right? Because that's ultimately like how can we make creators happy? How can we make creators more successful is what Twitch is all about, right? So, that's it's easy for smaller communities like Tabletop to get lost in the mix of like the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of video game streamers. So even though there are more non-video game content on Twitch, such as creative and IRL and tabletop gaming and stuff like that, it's nice for us, for our stream, to be able to really talk to people and get to know them and be friends with them and learn from them, right? Like I feel like every couple of weeks, myself or one of the people that I stream with will post a clip about some other board game stream and be like, that layout is cool, that overlay is awesome, how did they do that, we need to start doing that. And it's totally been it's an inspiration really to have all of these people coming onto the platform and just making great content.
And I've definitely seen a Twist and some other ones starting to see more foot traffic from them at cons as well, right? Seeing the reach out, and some of it's looking for content, some of it's looking for selling spots and ads, and it's a combination of things, but definitely more people talk. And I wasn't at PAX Unplugged, but I assume it was significant there, but just generally at other cons and other places, seeing more of that Twitch conversation happening.
Absolutely.
One question I had, and we had sort of talked briefly, probably through an email, about maybe doing a more elaborate sort of demo, but for somebody who has done content creation a little bit with YouTube, how to play, or whatever, and say they're listening to this or otherwise and interested and sort of want to jump into Twitch, what would you say are sort of a couple of the quick basics to keep in mind when going on? Like if they go here, they're like, oh, Twitch, I'm going to check it out. Where can they find board game content? Like how do you beeline to board game content? And then how do you think of, hey, I want to do a stream. How would you go about that?
Yeah, those are great questions. So for finding board game content, I'll talk about that first. The best way to do that is if you just go to twitch.tv and then you go to, I think, browse. And then on there, you should be able to look at different sort of game categories. I think it's twitch.tv/directory, I believe, is the page that you would get sent to. You can then that'll give you all the streams sorted by different game categories. And we actually have a category for board games as a whole. You can also search for it in the search bar at the top of the page. You can just search board games, and it'll come up with it'll come up with what we call games, which are our categories. And you'll see board games at the top. You can click on that, and you can go ahead and see all the streams that are streaming board games right now. You can also search for, there are separate categories for D&D. So if you wanted to search Dungeons and Dragons, you can find that as well for other tabletop stuff. Most role-playing streams end up under D&D, even if they're playing a different system, just for SEO reasons. But those are probably the top two ways. We also have communities on Twitch, which is sort of another way to categorize things that are not around a game. If you were to search tabletop at the top of the page, you could find and then scroll down in the search result, you'd find a tabletop community, which is one that we created when Communities launched earlier this year. And there's even right now, I'm looking at it, there's like a dozen channels streaming to the tabletop community. Exploding Dice, playing board games, people that I mentioned earlier, sure. Saving Throw Show, they're all streaming right now. I just looked them up, and there they are. And that's kind of how I would do it, is just kind of search for the common term of what you're looking for. I wouldn't search for like a specific board game necessarily. I would just search for board games or tabletop in general, and you'll kind of get the view of everything you can look at.
Cool. Yeah, and actually, while you were saying all that, I was just following along. It all works as you directed. All right, so that's how I would look for content and jump in, find what I like, and see what seems interesting. How about me as a creator, and say, all right, well, let me try to do some of this Twitch stuff. I go to the website. What would you say are a couple quick tips to jump into, and in particular to board game content, like where you're going to have more than just your computer camera to do it?
Totally. I would say the main things that you need to make sure you have is you're going to want 2 cameras and a microphone. That's like your base setup, right? You want to have a camera on your face so that people can see you and see you talking. And then you're going to want a second camera that is looking at the board of the game that you're playing. Quick tips, I would recommend putting the camera sort of at an angle rather than going for a direct overhead view. We found, over time that having an angled view, viewers tend to like that more because you can see the depth of pieces. You may not see the layout of the exact board squares as well as an overhead view, but it feels unnatural because part of the streaming experience is it's sort of like a first-person look into what someone else is doing, right? Like video games is like you're watching the same game screen that the other person is playing. So like when you're thinking about streaming board games, you want to provide that same experience. And so, viewers tend to want to watch, they want the view of what it would look like if they were like standing over your shoulder at the table watching you play, right? And so that's kind of where that angled view comes in, and that tends to be more natural. There are streamers in our community who have done like A/B tests where they streamed the same game week to week, but they changed the camera angle every week, and they've seen like actually better viewer retention from the angled camera, which I thought was really interesting. Like people are using data to figure this stuff out.
Sure. I bet you that applies to more things than just Twitch, right? I mean, that's probably true for just general thinking about how you might make engaging content when filming board games.
Totally, yeah. The other thing that I would say is like, think about your lighting when you're streaming board games, because you want to make sure that all the pieces are visible. You're not going to necessarily be able to have like a camera doing close-ups on every piece. If you're making, if you're pre-recording content, you can be like, I'm going to put a camera right over this piece of board or this card or something, and then edit it all together and put my audio overlay over the top of it and kind of make this really cool content. But when you're streaming, you don't want to have like this apparatus of all these cameras like in front of your face while you're actually also on screen yourself, right? And so, you're going to have the camera a little bit farther back, you're going to have to make sure that the stuff that is on the table is visible. So you need to make sure that you're not getting a glare off of the board or the cards or whatever. Cards and sleeves is a no-no, unless they're matte sleeves, which most of them aren't, because it's just going to glare right off the sleeve and you won't be able to see what's inside the sleeve. Other things that I would mention is that, really just figure out what format works for you, right? It's the same thing that people say when they're talking about making YouTube content, is like, don't like try too hard to be entertaining. Be yourself. Talk about what interests you. Talk about what you're passionate about. Play the games that you're passionate about, and then you will build a community around that, right? And so, the best part about Twitch as a platform is that you're sort of giving people a window into yourself and your life because it's live, and people want to share in that. So the best way to start streaming board game content is literally just be like, take your regular weekly board game night or whatever and ask your friends, hey, do you guys want to try streaming it one week, and just do it, right? And that's then you just set up the cameras, make sure you have chat visible so that you can see when people are talking to you and respond to them. Sure. That's kind of a big one. But at the end of the day, it's, you're really just, unless you're coming up with like a very specific format and you're like, I want to be a board game review stream or whatever. A lot of the board game streams are literally just, we're going to sit down and we're going to play this board game. We're going to tell you how it's played, and then we're going to play it. Right. And I think that's a really compelling format because it's unedited, it's uncut, it's all of the reactions that you get from people are in real time. If someone's not enjoying a board game, it's going to be very obvious when it's live, right? So you kind of eliminate the worry that if it's pre-recorded content that, did they actually like it, or did they just record the cuts that make it look like they like it because they want to make content that's generally positive. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like, consumers want both of those things, right? Sure, and so the live content gives you that very real feedback and that very real experience of what it's like to play board games. And if you have a group, everybody in your group is going to have their own opinions on board games, their own types of games that they like. And so getting a whole group around a table to play a game, you're going to have viewers that identify with one person in your group, maybe as the person that like tends to think about games the way they do. Sure. And so you're able to appeal to a lot of different people, which is great. Right.
No, for sure. And I think that feedback, both in terms of critique and just response to some of the, general, content on board games and reviews, as well as that idea that people sort of can see and resonate and figure out who plays like them, who looks like them, who acts like them, and use that as a guide for like, well, the host liked it, but that player over there that suffers from AP, that's me, and that dude hated it. So I guess the last question I have, at least in this category, is this is content, this is how you can do it, and I thought those were some awesome tips, man. The last is, so I am streaming, and I've passed that hurdle, or doing a game night, and like I go to Facebook and I say we're live, and I go to Twitter and I say we're live, and I post. Is there, in terms of discovery and sharing your content, is it really just that, or is there other ways that people sort of spread the word on a Twitch channel that's a little different than something else?
So we have a couple features around sort of self-promoted discovery. The first thing is we have something called Pulse, which is basically like our news feed. So you can actually, if you go to the front page of Twitch while you're logged in, you will see a news feed of posts, which is kind of like looking at the homepage on Facebook, and you can write like a post that says that you're live, and you can post it. And so, then, it'll show up to people who are following you. And I think that there's like some algorithms that'll make it show up as like related content to other people as well. Right. Yeah. And then, so that's like one. The second thing is, anybody who's following you can, choose to receive notifications when you go live through the Twitch platform, either through the website, or if they have the app installed, they can get like a push notification on their phone if they want. So you can kind of like bring your community back every week. And actually, you know, I'm going to deviate a sec to kind of like the ultimate pro tip of streaming on Twitch in general, but especially board games, is set a schedule and keep to it, right? Much like as a YouTube content creator, you might be like, I'm going to release new content on this day twice a month or something like that, or you know, every Wednesday I'm going to put out this video segment, something like that. Keeping to a regular schedule on Twitch is how you build a community, because it means that you don't have to rely on just posting on Facebook or posting on Twitter for people to know that you're live, because once they found you once and they learn about your schedule, they will know to come back at that time every week or that time every day, depending on how often you stream. Some people are like, I'm going to stream from 4 to 7 p.m. every single day or 4 days a week or whatever. But as long as you keep a schedule and stick to it, that's going to really help you grow community. The next thing I would say is that the community itself, the tabletop community on Twitch, is a very useful tool for promoting streams. We want to see the community grow. All of the other streamers want to see the community grow, because when the community grows, we all become more successful, and you know, it just creates benefits for everybody. So you know, we will tell people about your stream. You know, everybody else will be happy to like tell people about your stream. And so that one of the sort of tools that Twitch provides for that is called hosting, where you can basically host someone else's channel on your channel, so that anybody who visits your channel page will actually see the video feed from someone else's live stream while you're not live. And that's a really great way to basically tell your viewers, hey, here's some other cool content. Yeah. And the most powerful way that happens is when you're live and you're finishing up a stream, you'll go find someone else who's live, and you will host them, and you will take all of the viewers that you currently had from your live stream, and you will send them over to their channel in what's called a raid. And then they'll come in and they'll raid your channel, and they'll be like, hey, you know, we're coming over here from Tilted Table, and you know, a lot of those viewers will stick around and watch, and they'll chat, and that's a really great way to sort of build community, to build your own channel and to build other people's channels. You know, there are, for when you're not live and doing a host from live to someone else, we have a feature called auto host, where you can basically set up a list of channels that you would like to host if you're offline and they're live, and we'll just automatically take care of that and turn on hosting on your channel, so that if someone were to visit your channel some random time during the day that you're not streaming, there's still live video content playing on your channel. It's just someone else's channel that you've decided to say, hey, this is great content.
Check it out.
Go check it out. Right, exactly.
Cool. Well, you know, I mean, seems like a lot of cool stuff's going on. And, you know, I do appreciate the fact that, or recognize, or what the right word is, that we're having this, this is a Skype video that we will be posting on YouTube, which could have been done on Twitch, and I appreciate it. And maybe we'll do the reverse sometime again, and we can have the same conversation with an audience at the same time. I've recently just done my first Kickstarter for equipment, which went well, and so I'm looking at doing more different video content of all sorts. So I think in the coming year I'll probably spend a little time hanging out and doing some Twitch stuff. I have to get, you know, there's so many platforms, but I'm figuring out the balance and the timelines.
Right.
But I think, you know, that idea of committing to one time a week or whatever to sort of start building that audience is pretty powerful.
Yeah, I would say that one thing that's kind of new and cool for you know, content creators such as yourself to check out is we actually just recently announced a new feature at TwitchCon about a month ago called Premieres, where it's essentially a live video premiere of recorded content. And so that's a thing that we're working on to kind of provide more avenues to bring the Twitch experience to pre-recorded content. So you could take a video that you made for YouTube and you can be like, I want to premiere or debut it on Twitch, and you can upload it to Twitch, and then basically it'll play live, but with your chat experience rolling at the same time. You can be in chat and talk to your viewers as they're watching the pre-recorded video, and because it's the way that all Twitch video works, all of that chat gets saved as more or less a comment log, or we like to call it chat replay, so that if someone goes and then watches that uploaded video in the future, they'll also see all of the chat that happened when it was first played live, and it'll sort of play out kind of like YouTube comments might, but as you're seeing the video, like the comments roll in real time the way that they did when it was first aired. And that same feature set works for live videos, right? If you're archiving videos that you streamed, the chat gets archived along with it, so you can see all of that came in. And that's kind of that's another pro tip. If you're looking to stream on Twitch, make sure to go in your settings when you set up an account and turn on video archiving, so that your stuff gets saved. That way, even if you're not recording locally, it will be on Twitch. We save it for, I think, 2 weeks by default, longer than that if you're an Amazon Prime user or a partner. And then you can always create like highlights. Anything you upload that's like a VOD, pre-recorded content, is saved forever. Or you can take a stream that you made and you can make a highlight of it, which is just sort of like a cut timestamps out of it and save it forever. So it's not like it'll disappear on you, but it's always nice to have it saved by default.
Right, and I think we actually did that since I wanted to link to the Sunset Over Water playthrough we did. I think you made it a highlight, and then I linked to Twitch, and then it loaded into Twitch.
Yep, that's exactly what I did. So I just took the live stream broadcast, which we have set up to auto archive, and then before it disappeared from the 60-day rolling window, I went and made a highlight of it so that it's available forever.
Cool. Well, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But no, so tons of cool information. For me, it's just exciting to see all of the new places emerging where board games is growing, right? And how I am super interested with the sort of synergy and overlapping and just blending of all of the technology and gaming and fun and all that stuff. So it's super cool. But thanks so much for being on. It was really interesting, and I hope that a lot of creators on the YouTube side and sort of that are used to my stuff check it out and look at some of the channels. I think there's a lot of cool content going on Twitch right now.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's definitely something that we're very excited about, and we hope, to see more people in the community, both streaming and watching, very soon, because it's something that I think is only going to grow from here.
Cool. Well, so thank you, Jordan, and thank you everyone for watching. Subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Most importantly, play some great games. Thanks.